many of you are startups? You know, you've got a great idea. You're starting your company, and it's now time for you to move from that sole proprietor to having employees. I mean, every company starts there, right? Everybody starts with that idea, and they start going out on business for themselves, and then all of a sudden they have to expand because they can't do it all themselves. It's so funny. Here in Cincinnati, we are so fortunate to have wonderful business incubators. I mean, phenomenal facilities that are just loaded with all this talent and expertise to help individuals with these great ideas. But what sometimes is lacking is that they get so wound up in the whole production and product and marketing and branding and all these wonderful aspects of business, obviously. But what slips between the cracks are all the legal and compliance aspects of working with people, which is human resources. Hi, my name is Pandy, and you are watching The Human Resource, and we are here to help companies like yours walk through some of these challenges. So today's show is going to be going over what should a startup be thinking about if you've decided you need to move to that next level and you need to hire some people. What should you be thinking about? And what we're about to talk about is not all inclusive, but it's certainly the kinds of conversations and things that I talk about with individuals as we're kind of walking through their stages of the company. Even companies that have had, they've been in business for a couple of years, they have one or two people, which I call the warm and fuzzies, people that they can trust, maybe family members, a best friend. They've brought them in and they're working for them many times as a 1099 or under the table. But then we start talking about, okay, well, you're moving over into being a big boy. So what do you need to be doing? So here's what I start with. If you're really seriously going to hire an actual employee, and again, remember, an employee is a W-2 individual, not a temporary, not a 1099, but this individual is going to dedicate their time to you. And you are going to be the majority of the revenue for this individual. They're not a business. We need to worry about paperwork. Let's start with that. Make sure, in my opinion, that you've got a good employment application. Many companies just work right off of resumes, but here's where I hesitate off of just resumes. An employment application should ask for detailed information on each position. It also asks them such things as, are you over 18? Are you eligible and authorized to work in the U.S.? But more importantly, at the end, a proper written employment application should have details like, if I am offered employment, an extended employment, I understand it will be at will. I understand that just by filling this out, I am not guaranteed employment. I understand that there may be a drug test or a background check required. I am truthful in all the information I am providing. I know that all seems simple. And again, you're saying, oh, I'm too small for this. But I assure you, what I'm going to be giving you here are best practices to start now. Start now. So as your company grows, you don't have to keep going back and revising or updating or, bringing your stuff up to current size. Employment application is a wonderful tool to start with. So think about that. Be thinking about an offer letter. If you know specifically what you want to offer this individual, put it in writing and make sure that offer letter has at-will employment listed. Make sure that somebody reviews it like a consultant or an attorney, to make sure that your language is accurate, it's compliant, and it's doable. You don't make promises in offer letters. I would also be prepared and be educated. I would highly recommend that individuals who've never done this before, get yourself educated on the I-9, which is the Employment Eligibility Form. That is a legal document. Make sure, and remember, no matter one employee, 10 employees, you have to have an employment eligibility form on your employees, and you want to start even when you're small. Just get into the right practice. So what you're doing is you're building the foundation for a personnel file. Now, second stage after paperwork is payroll. How are you going to process payroll? Now, if you're going to do it yourself on QuickBooks or some platform at that level, then you're going to need to get tax forms, banking information on how the payroll will be deposited. You also need to establish not only once you've got your tax ID number for the company, but you also need to establish an account for unemployment. And you have to work through your current states to do that. In fact, keep in mind, if you have remote workers, you might have to work through that state for unemployment taxes and any other taxes that they require. So your payroll company won't do that for you. You have to do that yourself. But it is essential that you do it. And then don't forget workers' comp. Workers' compensation will be deducted from payroll. So you're going to have to go and open up a workers' comp policy in the state that you're in. So in Kentucky, Indiana, we would have to go and get a separate policy. In Ohio, we would register with the state. And then again, that information would be in your payroll system. Don't forget, from a payroll perspective, you need to establish when your work week is. So when are you going to start calculating time? Sunday to Saturday? Monday through Sunday? If you've been in any of my courses on HR, you know that the Department of Labor requires 14 different pieces of information on every employee. And one of those is, how is the employee to calculate their pay? Well, the work week that's the answer. When does my overtime begin? Because overtime is over 40 in a work week. But once you've got the work week established, what is going to be your pay period? When can they receive, or should they be expecting to get paid? Is your pay period going to be every 2 weeks, twice a month, once a month, bi-monthly? How are you going to do that? So get your work week established, figure out your pay periods. Then the last aspect of pay that I'm going to talk about is, think about non-productive time and productive time. And we've referenced this before in earlier podcasts. Are you going to pay holidays? Are you going to offer that as a benefit? Many companies don't. It is not a must. You don't have to. If your company's going to be closed on a holiday, you don't have to pay it if there's no time to work and if it's not considered a benefit. But if you're going to be working on that holiday, is it going to be paid at time and a half? You don't have to, but it's normally considered a benefit because it's still productive time. So what about bereavement? Are you going to offer bereavement pay? What about bonuses? Are you going to have an attendance bonus, a quarterly sales bonus, a retention bonus? I mean, there's so many different listings and so many possibilities, but you've got to be thinking about this. As a startup, you need to be putting some of these things in play. I'm not going to talk about PTO and vacation because at this point, that's more benefit oriented. And as a startup, you don't have to offer any of that. Is it preferred? Oh my gosh, absolutely it's preferred. Because remember, you're competing as a startup. You're going to be competing with well-established companies. In fact, you might be recruiting from more mature, established companies for employees. And they're used to those things. So if you're going to compete with them, how much are you going to compete with them? But that could be a whole nother show. So let's keep going on ours. Then I need you to really think hard about performance. What are going to be the expectations for these positions? And I know you're going to say, well, I've just got all this work over here. I need somebody to come in and do all this work. But I push my clients even further. And we do this. We have these conversations every single time they want to add a new position. If they call me and say, hey, we're thinking about adding another process engineer, or we're thinking about adding another graphic designer. What I'm challenging you to think about at this point is what will be the success factors for that position. And I'm talking black and white. I'm not talking about a job description. I'm talking about what are the success factors? What does this individual need to be able to accomplish so that you know you're getting a return on the investment? So you know your clients and your customers are getting what they need. And so you know this individual is going to be retained, that they're going to feel fulfilled. They're complementing what the needs of the business are so that both sides are benefiting. A lot of people hire without thinking this through. And it's extremely important, because if you hire the wrong person for the wrong reasons, they're not going to stay. And you're going to do nothing but push yourself further back, because your clients and your customers aren't going to be taken care of. And therefore, you're going to have to go out and find even more customers and clients, because you're going to lose the ones you have. So think about performance. Maybe even prior to doing anything. That probably should have been the first one I talked about. But you know me without a script. And then the other thing I want you to think about are policies. What policies do you need to have? Because I speak to so many companies who, again, were so caught up in the excitement and the energy and the passion of starting their own business, and I'm a CEO and I'm a president. But then when they start hiring people and they start dueling out decisions without any consistency, without any reason or rationale, and then they start realizing, I think I dug a hole with this person because now they expect this, or, I wasn't really fair because I did this for that one and I didn't do it for this one. Guys, you're not too small. You're not too small to think about policies if you're a startup. And think about it too. Remember, 30% of your expenses as a company will be somehow centered or focused or influenced by human resources. So if you don't have the right policies in place, you may end up spending much more money than you think. So think about at-will employment. What's your confidentiality statement going to look like? Does your state still allow non-competes and non-solicitations? And if so, is it even necessary for your company? Please have a harassment policy. Please have work rules so they know not to sleep on the job or not to bring in a firearm if you don't want them to. Please set some guidelines on what attendance should look like. And by all means, add that administrative corrections policy that meets the needs of the Fair Labor Standard Act so that all employees know that they are employed with a company of integrity that will follow applicable state and federal labor laws. Look, if you're a startup, this is the most exciting period that could be, in your life at this time. And my gosh, we want you to have fun. We want you to succeed. And we want you to stick around. Provide good jobs and follow the rules, because the rules and the laws are here for a reason. They truly are. And if you don't know what you're doing, then by all means, keep listening to the podcast, but surround yourself with people who can help you, encourage you, give you that positive energy. Look, my name's Pandy. That's why we do this show. I want to encourage all of you. If you need something, let us know. That's what we're here for. We want to thank all those wonderful listeners who are following us in Central Ohio. And gosh, I got to say a shout out to the Las Vegas Chamber of Commerce who gave us a referral the other day. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And all of you who do either call in, send us a question, or give us a suggestion on topic. We are going to thank you by sending you one of these 2 books. These are our favorite authors right now. Scott Warwick, Living the 5 Skills of Tolerance, and Steve Brown, HR on Purpose. They've both been on podcasts. Look them up. And in the meantime, make good decisions and enjoy your life in human resources. Take care.